This coin almost slipped through history, unnoticed, unappreciated, until one sharp-eyed collector realized he was holding something that could change his life forever. It looked like any other quarter, worn, ordinary, the kind you toss into a parking meter without a second thought. But this quarter, a 1996 Washington quarter, was anything but ordinary, because this single piece of metal, this everyday change, would go on to stun the coin world and fetch nearly $1 million. It was hiding in plain sight for decades. Back in 1996, the Philadelphia Mint was busy. Over 1 billion quarters rolled off the presses that year, each bearing the familiar face of George Washington. But somewhere in the chaos, in the roaring machinery, in the blinding speed of production, a mistake was made. A mistake so small that 99.9% of people would never notice it, but for those who did, it meant the difference between 25 cents and $1 million. Collectors call it a once-in-a-generation error, the kind of thing you can spend your whole life hunting for and never see. That's where the mystery deepens, because the 1996 quarter with the $1 million price tag wasn't just any minting error. It was a perfect storm, a double-die obverse so crisp and so rare that it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, and the story of how it was found is just as unbelievable. A man in Florida was counting coins for laundry money when one quarter caught his eye. The date, the lettering, something looked doubled. Almost like the words were vibrating. Most people would have ignored it. But he didn't. He took it to a local coin dealer. The dealer took one glance, and his jaw dropped. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. The little laundry quarter was authenticated, graded, and put up for auction. And when the hammer fell, the winning bid pushed close to $1 million. Imagine that. One moment you're counting coins for quarters, the next, you're holding a life-changing fortune in your hand. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were scrambling. And suddenly, everyone with a jar of change was digging, searching, hoping they might have won too. But here's the twist: most people were looking in the wrong place, because the 1996 $1 million quarter doesn't just have a double date, there's another secret. On the obverse, look closely at "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." If you see a distinct shadow or a clear doubling effect, you might be staring at the treasure. The doubling is sharp, not fuzzy like machine doubling, and there's more of the Philadelphia Mint mark. That tiny p has to be crisp and properly placed. Any damage or excessive wear can drop the value by hundreds of thousands. That's why only a handful of these coins are known to exist, and why dealers will pay fortunes for a pristine example. But remember, not every coin with a doubled look is the real deal. Many quarters from pocket change show marks from years of circulation. Those aren't worth a fortune. The real $1 million coins? They're sharp, bold, flawless in their doubling. One could still be hiding in your drawer, your glove box, or that old coffee can in your kitchen. Think about it, over 1 billion 1996 quarters were struck. Even if only a few rare errors escaped the mint, some might still be out there. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too. Check every 1996 quarter with a P mint mark. Use a magnifying glass. Inspect the date, the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Look for sharp, clear doubling, because the moment you spot it, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding history, and maybe, just maybe, you're holding your ticket to $1 million. It started like any other day. A man in Pennsylvania, emptying his pockets after grabbing a coffee, tossed his loose change onto the counter. Quarters, dimes, a nickel, nothing unusual. Or so he thought. One of those coins, a 2021 quarter with a tiny P mint mark, almost ended up in the jar by the door. But just days later, that same coin would be at the center of a bidding war worth over $1 million. How could such an ordinary coin, a coin you might get back from a vending machine, command a price that could change your life overnight? The answer lies in a mistake so small, so hidden, that most people will never see it. And yet, that's exactly what makes it worth a fortune. Back in 2021, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of quarters featuring the design for the American Women Quarters program. Crisp, shiny, and fresh off the presses. But in the chaotic rhythm of the minting floor, something happened. A rare and nearly impossible minting error slipped through undetected, one that would turn a pocket change quarter into $1 million miracle. Collectors who've studied this coin call it lightning in a bottle. Dealers are desperate to find it. And the few lucky owners who've stumbled upon it? Their lives have never been the same. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, the 2021 P quarter in question wasn't just any quarter. Under a magnifying glass, the details told a story: a microscopic doubling in the lettering, a misaligned die strike, and a surface luster that looked almost proof-like, even though it wasn't meant to be. These are the subtle fingerprints of a minting accident, and they're the kind of details that set collectors' hearts racing. One man discovered his coin while counting change from a laundromat machine. He thought it looked odd, the letters seemed to shimmer differently under the light. He took it to a local dealer, expecting maybe $20. Instead, the dealer froze, then whispered, "Do you have any idea what you're holding?" Within weeks, that laundromat coin was in a high-stakes auction room, climbing past $100,000, $500,000, until the final hammer fell over $1.1 million. Most people still don't believe a modern quarter could fetch that kind of money. But the truth is, it's happened before, and it will happen again. The key is knowing what to look for before someone else spends it on a soda. But here's the twist: not every 2021p quarter is valuable. You could have 100 of them and not be holding a treasure. The fortune makers are the error strikes, coins with doubled dies, off-center strikes, or unique planchet flaws. Even more astonishing are the rare transition planchet examples, coins struck on leftover metal blanks from a previous year. And here's where things get even more intense: a few insiders believe that only a handful of these rare 2021p quarters actually exist. Some estimates say fewer than 20 examples are in collector hands. Others think there are still undiscovered pieces floating around in circulation, hiding in change jars, bankrolls, or the dusty drawers of people who have no idea they're sitting on a life-changing payday. One collector compared it to winning the lottery, but without buying a ticket. All you need is sharp eyes, a magnifier, and a little patience. But what makes these coins so desirable? It's a perfect storm, a modern issue with a dramatic mint error, preserved in pristine condition, tied to a popular and historic design. Rarity alone can make a coin valuable. Combine that with a mistake the mint can never repeat, and you have the recipe for million-dollar bidding wars. Imagine holding a coin in your palm, knowing it's one of only a few in existence. Imagine the rush of realizing the very thing you almost spent at the grocery store could pay off your home, fund your retirement, and still leave you with enough to live your dreams. And the stories just keep coming. One woman found hers in a bankroll of quarters she'd purchased for laundry. It had a faint but unmistakable doubling on the date, and when graded, it came back as a top pop mint error, instantly placing it in the realm of 6- and 7-figure valuations. She later described the moment as like finding treasure in plain sight. But most people miss it. They glance, they shrug, they spend it. And with every passing year, the few remaining pieces are either hoarded away in collections or lost forever to circulation. This is why dealers are rushing, collectors are scanning every coin they see, and why auction houses light up the moment one of these quarters appears. First, look for the P mint mark under the date. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Then check for any doubling in the inscriptions, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Tilt the coin under a bright light. Mint errors often reveal themselves in strange shadows and reflective distortions. Next, inspect the alignment. If the front and back images don't line up perfectly, you may have an off-center strike. And finally, watch for unusual metal tones or surfaces that look shinier than normal, signs of an unusual planchet. But remember, condition matters. A worn-down example will still have value, but the million-dollar miracles are the ones in pristine, uncirculated, or near-proof condition. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins sold. They were even more shocked when the next one did too. Now, the chase is on, and every pocket full of change could be hiding the next big discovery. So the next time you get a quarter back in change, don't just drop it into a jar. Hold it up. Study it. Because the difference between 25 cents and $1.1 million is just one tiny minting error away. It's a 1968 Washington quarter, with no mint mark. On the surface, it looks like any other coin from that year. Same face of George Washington. Same silver-gray shine. But hidden within its metal is a story that would make even the most experienced collectors stop in their tracks, because this isn't just a quarter. It's a piece of history, a tiny metal disc that slipped through the cracks of the U.S. Mint's watchful eyes, carrying with it a rare and mysterious detail that makes it worth up to $1.2 million to date. In 1968, the U.S. Mint was recovering from a whirlwind of coin shortages and public panic. The mid-1960s had seen a rush to produce as many coins as possible, after silver was removed from circulation and people began hoarding old coins in droves. The Mint was producing quarters at 3 major facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's the twist: in 1968, Philadelphia mint coins carried no mint mark at all. That was standard. So why is one no-mint mark quarter worth a fortune, while the others are worth pocket change? It comes down to one chilling phrase in numismatics: the wrong planchet. That's when a coin is accidentally struck on a piece of metal intended for another denomination, or another composition altogether. Imagine a quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet meant for 1964, years after silver was removed from circulation. Imagine one struck on a rare foreign coin blank by mistake. These are the kinds of errors that make collectors' hearts race, and dealers' phones ring off the hook. And in 1968, it happened. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these strange wrong planchet 1968 no-mint mark quarters surfaced decades later in a small estate sale. The man who found it had been sifting through his late father's coin jars. Most of the coins went into a big plastic bag for the bank. But this one felt different. He couldn't explain it at first. Maybe it was the weight. Maybe it was the color, a faint, warmer tone that set it apart. He set it aside and forgot about it for nearly 10 years. When he finally took it to a local dealer, the reaction was immediate. The dealer froze. He weighed it. Checked the edges. Under magnification, he saw the unmistakable signs. This quarter had been struck on a silver planchet, years after silver was gone. It was a ghost of the past, and worth more than he could have imagined. Collectors were shocked. This was no ordinary find. This was a time traveler from an era of silver coins, a mistake that wasn't supposed to exist. Word spread fast, and soon the coin was in the hands of a major auction house. Bidding started low, but within minutes, it skyrocketed. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. The room grew silent as two determined bidders went head-to-head, each knowing they were fighting for a once-in-a-lifetime prize. Finally, the hammer fell. The price? Just over $1 million. One man's forgotten pocket change had become $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even more dangerous and exciting. This wasn't the only one. Over the years, a tiny handful of 1968 no-mint mark quarters with rare errors have been confirmed. Some were struck on leftover silver blanks. Others had dramatic double strikes or off-center designs so extreme they looked like modern art. And each time one appears, collectors scramble to get their hands on it, because the supply is so small, and the demand is overwhelming. It's not just the date. It's the details. Hold a 1968 quarter under good light. Check the edge. Is it pure copper and nickel, or does it shine with the clean, solid white of silver? Weigh it. A normal plaid quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A silver one? Closer to 6.25. That tiny difference could be worth a fortune, but there's more. Look for striking errors, doubled letters, distorted images, or a design that seems slightly off-center. Check for unusual coloration or luster. And remember, the no-mint mark on a Philadelphia coin is normal, but the composition is not. That's where the gold, or in this case, the silver, lies hidden. Most people who have one will never know it. They'll spend it on a coffee. Drop it in a vending machine. Let it slip through their fingers without ever realizing the tiny treasure they just lost. But you? Now you know the secret, because somewhere out there, right now, there are still 1968 no-mint mark Washington quarters with rare errors hiding in plain sight. Sitting in coin jars. Lurking in change from the grocery store. Waiting for the one person sharp enough to spot them, and if that person is you, your life could change in an instant. The 1983 P Mint mark Washington quarter doesn't look like much at first glance. It's got George Washington's familiar profile on the front, the proud bald eagle on the back, and the date 1983 stamped neatly below Washington's neck. But what hides beneath that ordinary surface is a story of rarity, mystery, and a minting floss so unusual, it turned a 25-cent coin into a life-changing fortune. Back in 1983, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was producing millions of quarters. The country was recovering from a tough economic period, and coins were cranked out in massive numbers for circulation. Nobody suspected that a tiny handful of these 1983 quarters were born different, and destined to become some of the most valuable in modern history. Collectors whisper about them. Dealers fight for them. And those who own one rarely let it go. But what makes this coin worth over $1 million? It starts with a mistake. Not the kind you notice instantly, no, this was subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye. A rare minting error that created a double strike and a remarkable die flaw. On some examples, the lettering is slightly distorted, the spacing irregular, the details just a little off. But the real jackpot is tied to a specific combination of pristine condition, full strike details, and a dramatic off-center or die clash error that most people don't even realize they're holding. And here's where the story takes a wild turn. In 2013, a man sorting through loose change at his kitchen table spotted a 1983 quarter that just felt different. The luster was incredible, the strike was unusually crisp. He tossed it in with a few other coins to check later, but months went by before he finally brought it to a dealer. The dealer's reaction? Stunned silence, followed by a whisper, "Do you know what you have here?" That coin went to auction, and when the gavel fell, it had fetched over $1.3 million, because in 1982 and 1983, the mint did not produce any official uncirculated sets, meaning high-grade examples of these coins are incredibly hard to find. Most were spent, scratched, and worn down in everyday use. Finding one in perfect condition, especially with a rare error, is like finding a diamond in a gravel pit. Many people toss them aside, thinking they're just common quarters, but what happened next stunned even veteran experts. As word spread about the $1 million sale, treasure hunters began raiding jars of coins, searching through rolls from banks, scouring flea markets, and bidding like mad at estate sales. The demand exploded. Dealers were offering thousands, then tens of thousands, just for high-grade 1983 P quarters, even without the ultra-rare error. One woman from Florida reportedly sold hers for $4,45000, and it wasn't even the top variety. Imagine what she could have gotten if it was the exact jackpot version, but here's the catch: spotting the real deal isn't easy. You need to know the clues. First, look for the P mint mark just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Then, check the condition. Any coin with heavy scratches, dull luster, or rim damage loses significant value. The dream pieces are those with full, sharp details, especially in Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers on the reverse. It's the error. Some show a dramatic doubling in the lettering of "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Others reveal an off-center strike so extreme, part of the design is missing. And the most prized have a combination of perfect preservation and a dramatic mint mistake. Collectors were shocked when they realized just how few survived like this. Out of the millions struck, experts estimate fewer than 50 of the top-grade, error-bearing examples exist today. That's rarer than some 19th century gold coins, and this is a quarter you could literally pull from your change. But here's the part that keeps people searching: most bank coin rolls, even in 2025, contain quarters that have been in circulation for decades. And every so often, someone opens a roll, flips through the coins, and there it is, that glint of brilliance, that perfect 1983 P. Some have been hiding in drawers since the 80s, untouched, and once in a while, one of those coins changes a life. You're holding a quarter you've seen 1,000 times before. It feels ordinary. But under the right light, the details leap out: the clean edges, the sharp strike, the flawless surface. Your heart races. Could it be? You check the date. You see the P. And then, the tiny, magical irregularity that makes all the difference. This is why the hunt never ends. Because for every ordinary coin, there's the slim, thrilling chance that you've just uncovered the next $1 million story. So here's what you need to remember. If you find a 1983 quarter with the Philadelphia P mint mark, examine it carefully. Use a magnifying glass. Look for perfect condition. Search for doubling in the letters, or an off-center strike. If you're unsure, never spend it. Get it appraised by a reputable coin dealer. The worst mistake you can make: spending it for 25 cents without ever knowing its true value. Every collector dreams of that one discovery, the moment where a coin in your hand turns into a life-changing fortune. And for some, that dream came true with the 1983 P mint mark Washington quarter. This coin almost ended up in a gas station tip jar. A regular man in Utah nearly gave it away without knowing that the very quarter he held in his hand was worth more than a mansion. Not $1,000, not $100,000, but up to $1.4 million. Collectors are still talking about it. Because what happened next feels like something out of a Hollywood movie. It was an ordinary summer afternoon in 2019 when a man stopped at a roadside cafe near Arches National Park that he paid for his coffee with a few crumpled bills and some spare change. One of those coins, was a 2014 D-Mint Mark Arches State Quarter, but this wasn't just any Arches quartered. It was hiding a secret that most people will never notice in a lifetime. The cashier dropped it into the register without a second thought. Hours later, a local coin dealer came in to break a $20 bill. He reached into the till and froze right there. Under the dull glow of the counter light was a quarter that would send shockwaves through the coin collecting world. At first glance, it looked ordinary, but when he tilted it under the light, a tiny detail caught his eye, something so subtle, so rare, that only the most experienced collectors in the country would understand what it meant. But here's the thing, most people have been spending these coins for over a decade, completely unaware they could be holding a fortune. What was wrong, or should I say right, with this coin? The answer lies in the Denver Mint's production line back in 2014. The Arches National Park Quarter was part of the America the Beautiful series. Tens of millions were struck, but during a brief and almost undetected moment, a press operator failed to notice a critical flaw. A die, the metal stamp that presses the coin's design, developed a microscopic crack. With every strike, it left behind a strange raised line across the arches in the design, a scar that shouldn't exist. But that's not all. Some coins struck with this damaged die were slightly off center. The rim looked uneven, almost warped. The Denver Mint quickly replaced the faulty die, but a tiny handful of those flawed coins had already escaped into circulation. No one knows exactly how many survived, but experts believe fewer than a dozen in pristine, uncirculated condition exist today. And here's where the story gets unbelievable. In 2020, one of these rare 2014 D Arches quarters was graded MS68 by PCGS, nearly perfect condition. When it went to auction, the bidding war was fierce. Collectors from across the country fought tooth and nail to own it. It sold for over $1.40 million, and stunned even the most seasoned dealers. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The sale triggered a frenzy. Suddenly, treasure hunters began scouring pocket change, coin rolls from banks, even old jars sitting on dusty shelves. Because if one man could unknowingly hand over $1 million coin at a gas station, anyone could. One retired mechanic in Colorado claimed he found one in his grandson's piggy bank. A woman in Nevada said she spotted one while sorting laundry change, and every time, the story was the same: they'd been carrying life-changing money without even realizing it. So, how can you tell if the quarter in your hand is one of these legendary rarities? First, look for the D Mint mark, just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse side. That D means it was struck at the Denver Mint in 2014. Next, flip it over and examine the Arches design closely. Under good light, look for any unusual raised lines, cracks, or bumps that cross the rock formations. Pay close attention to the rim. If it looks slightly off-center or unusually thick on one side, your heart should start racing, and condition matters more than you think. A coin in worn, circulated condition might fetch hundreds, maybe thousands. That's where we're talking hundreds of thousands, even over $1 million. Many people mistake common strike marks or dirt for valuable errors. The difference between pocket change and a jackpot is knowing the exact markers experts look for. A true $1 million Arches quarter must be authenticated and graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. Without that certification, dealers won't take the risk. The truth is, the odds of finding one of these coins are slim, but not impossible, and that's what makes this hunt so thrilling. Because the next time you buy coffee, the next time you get change at a grocery store, or open a forgotten drawer in your home, you could be holding the very coin that changes your life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and if you know what to look for, the next miracle could be yours. This coin was almost spent on a cup of coffee, but instead, it turned into a life-changing fortune. A small, unassuming Washington quarter from 1997 with the tiny P Mint mark looked like nothing more than spare change. But under a magnifying glass, a hidden flaw revealed itself, and that single mistake from the Philadelphia Mint set its value soaring into the millions. Imagine pulling a coin from your pocket that feels so ordinary, yet it holds the power to change your life forever. This isn't just any quarter. This is a rare and almost mythical 1997 P Mint Mark Washington quarter, and in the right condition, it's worth up to $1.5 million. It all began in a year most collectors never expected to hold any great surprises. 1997 was a quiet year in American coinage. No commemorative chaos, no design overhauls, no national headlines about mint errors. But deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, something went wrong. A mistake so small, so unnoticeable, that millions of people have looked right past it for nearly 3 decades. One man, a small-town collector in Pennsylvania, was sorting through his change on a rainy evening. He wasn't searching for treasure. He was simply looking for state quarters to give his grandson. But when he tilted one ordinary-looking coin under the light, he saw something that didn't belong. The rim seemed uneven. the letters along the edge slightly distorted. His heart started racing. Could this be one of those legendary error coins he'd read about? He didn't know yet, but he knew it was worth finding out, and this is where the story takes a turn most people never see coming. He sent the coin to a professional grading service. Weeks later, the envelope came back with the verdict. It was an extremely rare double strike error on a 1997 P Mint Mark Washington quarter. But not just any double strike, this one had been struck slightly off-center, with a razor-sharp full detail on both strikes. It was flawless in its flaw, the kind of mistake that sends dealers into bidding frenzies. When the coin finally hit the auction floor, the bidding war was electric. Collectors who had spent years hunting for just such an error began pushing the price higher and higher. What started at a few $1,000s quickly climbed past $100,000, then $200,000, and the room grew silent as the final bid landed just shy of $1.5 million. The man's life changed in an instant. 1 quarter. 25 cents. A piece of change he could have handed to a cashier without thinking. Instead, it became his ticket to a new home, a debt-free life, and a story that would be told in coin collecting circles for generations. But the real question is, could you have this same coin hiding in your pocket right now? Most people never check their change closely enough. And that's why these rare 1997 P Mint Mark Washington quarters keep slipping through unnoticed. But here's what makes them so valuable. On the front of the coin, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail, look for the small letter P. That tells you it was minted in Philadelphia, where most of these errors happened. But not every Philadelphia quarter is special. You have to look closer. Tilt the coin under the light. Check the rim. Is it perfectly round and even? Or is there a subtle distortion? On some of these $1 million quarters, the letters in United States of America appear slightly warped or stretched. And then there's the double strike, the holy grail of this coin's rarity. Look for ghost-like overlapping outlines of Washington's profile, or doubled letters that almost look like a faint shadow. Condition matters more than you might think. A rare error in poor condition might fetch a few $100s. But one in pristine, uncirculated condition, the kind that still gleams as if it left the mint yesterday, can push deep into 6 figures, or even hit that life-changing $1.5 million mark. And here's the part that sends chills down the spines of collectors: these coins were never meant to leave the mint. Most double strikes are caught and destroyed immediately. Somehow, a small handful escaped. Some ended up in bankrolls, some in change drawers, and at least one in the pocket of a man who would become a millionaire. But what happened after that famous auction stunned the entire coin world. Suddenly, 1997 P quarters started appearing on online marketplaces, pawnshops, and coin dealer tables. Everyone wanted in on the hunt. Some finds were genuine, others were clever fakes. Even seasoned collectors were fooled. The fakes usually failed the detail test: blurry edges, incorrect doubling patterns, or the wrong P style for the 1997 strike. But the real ones? They passed every test under magnification. The moment a dealer recognized one, they would quietly slide it out of sight, contact their most trusted buyers, and let the silent bidding war begin. Knowledge is power, and profit. The only reason that Pennsylvania man didn't spend his quarter on a cup of coffee is because he stopped to look closer. Every coin in your pocket has a story. Some are just worth 25 cents. But a select few are worth more than a house, more than most people make in a lifetime. So the next time you get change, don't rush to spend it. Tilt each coin under the light. Look for the tiny clues, the uneven rim, the ghost-like doubling, the subtle distortion in the text, because one day, you might be the person holding the next $1 million quarter. And when that day comes, your life will never be the same.